She screamed before the rope even touched her skin, the kind of scream that makes every bird on the prairie jump from the grass and vanish into the sky, the kind of scream that tells you someone is being broken in a way no human heart should ever witness. They had Lily Byrne tied to the old whipping post near the trail to Dodge City, her hands pulled high above her head, her ankles bound to the base of the post, feet barely touching the ground. Her simple shift was torn at the shoulder from the struggle, smeared with dust and sweat. The sun beat down on her until sweat and tears ran together into one helpless streak. She tried to pull her arms down, but the rope cut deeper into her wrist, turning every breath into a reminder that half the county could have been watching if they walked by that road. Her breath hitched. She whispered one word, "Please." Her voice cracked in the heat. Anyone passing that old trail would have heard her, but no one came, and that silence hurt worse than the rope. The men who surrounded her didn't flinch. They watched with lazy grins, their boots sinking into the dusty ground near the old cattle trail leading toward Dodge City. These men worked for Silas Maddox, the man everyone feared, the man who decided that Lily needed to be taught a lesson for speaking against him in town, and they were more than happy to carry out his orders. Then footsteps approached from behind her, heavy, slow, measured. The men stepped aside as Jacob Carter entered the clearing. Jake was 50, broad-shouldered, weathered from decades of ranching along the Arkansas River. His face carried old grief and older regrets, and he looked at Lily the way a condemned man looks at a noose. For a heartbeat, Lily thought he might help her, but desperation can twist a good man into something he no longer recognizes, like he hated what he was about to do but saw no way out of it. Silas had come to Jake 2 nights earlier, offering him a deal. Help with this punishment, and Silas would erase the debt that threatened to destroy the Carter Ranch. Refuse, and everything Jake owned would be stripped from him by sunrise, so Jake had walked here today, not because he wanted to, because desperation drove him harder than fear. Now Silas gave his orders, cold as winter iron. "Lift her clear off the ground, Carter. I want her toes dancing in the air when the ropes bite." "That's your part of the bargain." Jake's stomach turned, but his hands moved anyway. Tut. He slid them under her thighs and lifted. Lily came up hard against the ropes, a choked cry ripping out of her as the hemp cut deeper into wrists and ankles. Her whole body shook with the strain and the shame of being strung up like fresh meat for every passing rider to see. Her eyes found his, wide, wet, begging, "Please don't do this." The words barely left her lips before Silas laughed again. Jake felt every year of his 50 winters in that moment. And something inside him broke clean in two. He did not know it yet, but this was the moment his whole life would swing in a different direction. If a man is forced to choose between saving his own life and saving a stranger's dignity, what does he become when he picks the wrong choice? Lily froze when Jake's arms suddenly lowered just a little. It was the first sign that something was wrong. The first sign that the man holding her up was not as loyal to Silas as Silas believed. Jake kept his hands under her legs, but his grip shifted, and she could feel the tension in him like a storm building under his skin. The sun hammered down on both of them. Sweat dripped from his temples. His breath grew heavier with every second he fought the thing he knew he should not be doing. She stared at him, eyes still wet, voice shaking. "You still have a choice." Her whisper barely reached him, but somehow it hit harder than any order Silas ever gave. Jake shut his eyes for a moment, just long enough to let regret wash over him. When he opened them again, something inside him had changed. It was small, barely there, but it was real, the kind of change that only grows bigger when a man realizes he's about to lose the last piece of himself. Behind him, Silas laughed. It was a slow, heavy laugh, the kind a man uses when he believes he owns every soul in the clearing. He stepped closer, boots crunching on the dry grass. "Hurry up, Jake. We have all day." "But the girl does not." Lily flinched at the words. Jake did too, though he tried to hide it. Anyone older than 45 has heard that kind of man before, the kind who enjoys watching others bend, the kind who believes fear is a gift that only he can give. Jake's shoulders tensed. He lifted Lily again, but this time his legs shook in a way Silas could not see from behind. Lily felt it. She whispered again, "You are not like them." Jake let out a rough breath. the kind you release when you finally admit something to yourself. He had spent years believing he was too old to make a difference, too tired to fight, too broken to try. But right now, with Lily trembling in his arms, he understood one simple truth. You never stop choosing who you are. Even at 50, one of Silas's men stepped forward, bored. "Want me to pull the ropes tighter, boss?" Silas waved him off. "Let Jake finish. He owes me this." The words cut deeper than Jake expected. He felt shame rush up his spine. Shame for agreeing. Shame for letting it go this far. Shame for seeing himself through Silas's eyes. And that was the moment Jake finally asked himself the question that changed everything. If he kept doing this, would he ever be able to look himself in the mirror again? Jake did not answer that question out loud. He did not have to. His body answered for him. One moment he was lifting Lily because Silas commanded it. The next moment he dropped his weight low, pulled her legs toward him, and twisted hard enough to slacken the rope on her right ankle. The rope snapped against the post, and Lily gasped as her legs swung loose. For a split second, the meadow went silent. Even the wind forgot to move. It was the kind of stillness that comes right before a storm hits a man harder than a bullet. Then everything exploded. One of Silas's men lunged first. Jake shoved Lily to the side to keep her out of the path, then took a hard punch to the jaw and another straight into his ribs. Something snapped inside his chest and white pain shot through him. He grabbed the man's shirt, turned his weight, and slammed him into the dirt. The hit was sloppy, but it worked, and Jake felt his own knees wobble from the effort. If he fell here, Lily would not last a minute, and Jake knew it better than anyone. He was 50. He already knew he would pay for this when the sun went down. The second man grabbed Lily by the arm. She kicked him with her free leg, a sharp, wild kick born from fear and pure stubborn will. He did not fall, but he did loosen his grip just enough for Jake to crash into him from the side, sending them both stumbling in the dust. Jake tried to stand straight, but pain clawed at his ribs and his breath came out in short, rough gasps. Jake felt a rush of something he had not felt in years. Pride, not in himself, in her, in the way she refused to break. Silas finally moved, shouting at his men, furious that his little show had turned into a brawl. His face twisted, and he reached for the rifle tied to his saddle. Jake saw the motion. He charged forward, planting his shoulder into the ribs of the closest man, knocking him into Silas before the rifle could be raised. The gun hit the dirt. Lily scrambled toward it, still tripping on the rope tied to her wrist. She snatched the rifle up and worked the lever like someone who'd grown up on a ranch. Jake covered her, swinging at another man who rushed in, his knuckles